If you're a graphic designer, chances are your file organization could use a little refresh. If you're new here, hi, I'm Jordan and I like to share Cricut crafts and small business tips on my channel. So if you're into that, hit subscribe and follow along. Today I want to share my entire process of designing, making mockups, cover photos, listings, pin images, the whole thing, and show you how I made it easier to keep track of what's what. Prior to using this method, I was constantly writing down on scraps of paper what designs needed to be listed on what platform, and it was just a cluttered mess. I had spreadsheets, I had pieces of paper, it was everywhere. And it was so hard to keep track of things, and honestly, I've gotten so far behind. Not one site has every single one of my designs, so it's just a whole cluttered mess. And I wanted to go into the new year not having this problem anymore. It took a while to figure out, okay, where are the pain points of this whole entire process and how can I make that easier and simplify it and make it so that I know what's been done and what the next steps are, instead of having to constantly go on every website and think, has this been uploaded or not? I wanted to make it foolproof and ADHD friendly and as easy as possible for me to know what to tackle if I was in the mood to upload listings. So anyways, I have figured something out and I'm going to share my entire method with you today. Step one of this process is to actually design something. I do all of my designing in Illustrator. I like that I can have multiple artboards and see everything all at once. I like that it's vectored, and I'm primarily an SVG designer, so I need the vectorization and being able to smooth nodes. And I know Adobe is expensive, but it's a business expense that I just think is so worthwhile. I have the entire Creative Suite, and it's the reason why I was able to even play around with learning Premiere Pro. I have used InDesign for multiple projects, Illustrator, Photoshop, Lightroom. Like, there's just so many apps on here, even Adobe Firefly and Spark. That's a side tangent, sorry about that. But yeah, I love Illustrator. I use it for all of my SVG designing, and if you're interested in learning how to make SVGs in Illustrator so that they can be sellable SVGs for Cricut users, I have a video all about that if you are interested. I like to create a new file that has 16 artboards at 4x4 inches. I don't really know why I came up with this number, but this is what I like to do. It makes a nice little grid. You can come down here to more settings and change how many columns there are. So let's say you wanted to do 25 artboards or 20, it would sometimes like make them uneven. So if you want it to be even and you're particular about things like that, change the columns by doing this. You could make it 5 columns and then do it at 20 or 25 to make it perfectly even. And then I like to have the spacing just at 0.25. And here's what that looks like. So I do all my designing in Illustrator. I'm going to pop in some designs here so you don't have to watch me do the design process. Okay, so the only thing I haven't actually moved over to Photoshop is the template, the main image. And I originally created this for Etsy so that it would look good as a square image. So this I still do in Photoshop, and what I do is I come into my designs and I just literally, I either export all of these and drag them all in, or I will just copy and paste them. And that doesn't take too long, so I do all that. Then I export these right from Photoshop one at a time. Now, I was using Photoshop for everything prior to switching to Illustrator for most of this stuff. I was doing everything one by one, and it was just becoming a pain. Once the promo images are made, I move on to the next step, and that is making the mock-ups. So I just come into here and I copy everything, and then I go into my main mockup database. So, and then I just paste and resize all at once because we are all about efficiency here. I made this huge database of all of my mockups. I made a template that I liked and I just duplicated it, and I made all of these in here so that all I need to do is come into here and decide what shirt colors do I want. I do have plans to kind of expand this into like the wood signs and things like that. Let's select these two, and I'm going to hold down option and drag down, and then I'm gonna pick which ones I want to use. I'm going to group them. Now, the one downfall to this is I can't use multiply, which in Photoshop, if you know anything about that, it makes your mockups look a little bit realistic, but I would much rather have things actually get uploaded to my website versus striving for perfection and having things take longer. I also created a keyboard shortcut for export, and I use that as Command Q because Command Q is the shortcut for quit, and never in my life have I ever wanted to use that shortcut and actually quit the program. So instead of accidentally quitting things when I didn't mean to, I just replaced that shortcut and made it my export. But before we export, I'm going to rename these artboards. And Self-Love Era Main 2. Now, the reason I'm doing it Main 2 is because Main 1 or just Main is the promo image. So this will be the second image on the listing. And then we're going to I'm going to double check 45 and 44. So I just need to export those two those two artboards. And I'm going to change the range to 44 to 45. Export those. I just do 7 so that they're not super large files. Now I'm just going to copy these two and bring them into my pin file. And I'm going to take this one and duplicate it, but I'm going to change this to say Valentine's SVG, and then that needs to be sized down a little bit. And I'm going to copy that and paste that. Okay, so I'm going to resize these together, holding Shift, and then hit Command Shift bracket to send it to the back. And then I'm going to, oops, this one needs to be a little bit bigger on both ends. And then I'm going to move this one out of the way so I can kind of see what I'm doing. If you want, you can hit View, Trim View to see what it'll look like. And that helps you know if it's centered or not. And if you want to scale it up, how it'll look. So I like doing that. But because I put these two artboards next to each other, they are going into the next artboard, and I can't have that. So I just come up to crop image and I crop the image. Alternatively, you could just make these artboards spread out further so you don't have that issue, but I like things, as you've probably noticed, I like things being all nice and tidy. I'm gonna center that one, and I could just send this one to the back because in trim view it would be behind this image. So I could do that and save myself the time. Now to take it one step further, I am going to change the colors of these to match the design. I don't really love that, so I'm going to change that to pink, and down here I will change these to that. Yeah, I think that looks good. That yellow can stay. I don't mind keeping some of my branding colors there. And then from here, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to rename these artboards, and I'm going to call this Disco Heart Pin, and then I'm going to export these into my pin folder. So now circling back to the main design file that we were working with, I want you to come into every single artboard and change the name of it. And trust me when I say this time that you spend doing this is going to save you so much more time. Okay, you can see all of my artboards are now labeled, and we are going to use that handy dandy export shortcut, and we are going to export as PNG, all files, export, hit OK. Now we're going to export the JPEGs. Now we're going to export the SVGs, export. And now you can see I have all of the files right here. I'm going to put them all into one folder. Okay, so now I have all of these designs in a folder together. I'm going to select them all, and I'm going to right click and hit rename. And now I'm just going to type the name of the Illustrator file, which since I didn't save it, it was just untitled 2. So I'm going to type in untitled-2_ and replace it with nothing. So that's just removing that title from it. And you can see it removed all of those. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to open every single SVG. And I'm going to open those, and I have that set to open with Illustrator, so it's going to open all of these designs. And I'm going to just use that export shortcut and save these all as DXF files, which is for Silhouette users. And you can't export multiple artboards when you do that, so you have to do it one by one. Or if you know a way to do that, let me know, because I mean, this isn't too time consuming. It's pretty easy and you kind of just zone out for a minute. But yeah, I would love to know if there's any other ways to do this. I'm just using Command Q to export, Command W to close. Okay, so we could easily leave off here, but what ends up happening is you can't keep track of what websites things have been uploaded on, so we're gonna make things way more complicated, but like easy to understand. So not complicated because it's hard to figure out what you're doing and how to do it. Complicated because it's just a lot of folders and a lot of copying and pasting, and some might view this as unnecessary, but I view it as something that needs to be done for my ADHD. So let's dive into setting up your folders and making it so simple for your organization. Copy the name of the file, make a new folder, paste that name so you don't have to type it out unless you want to. Okay, now you have all of your folders named and you're just gonna make zip files of all of them. And because the folders are named, you don't have to rename the files. And also, if you do it this way, then when people download it, it comes in as the name it's supposed to and not some random string of letters, or at least that's how it should happen. So now we're just making the zip folders. I'm just going to add all of those to the file, to the folders. Now I'm going to copy the folder I just made. Now I don't really care how you organize your files. That's however you want to do it. I like to do it by like topic. So Christmas, Easter, Halloween, monograms, positivity, religious, school, sports. Now, what I should have done first, I kind of forgot my steps a little bit here. What I should have done first is just copied all of the SVGs and put them in here. But I didn't do that. But for Cricut, you only need to upload SVGs. So if you sell on Cricut, then I would recommend putting all the SVGs in the Cricut folder first and then doing all this file prep. I feel like this part got a little bit complicated. So step one is export all your files, rename them, copy all of the SVGs into your Cricut folder, and then do everything else in the other folder. I put everything into file organization to like organize the files and the folders. Main images, all that stuff gets done in here. Organizing the folders, renaming them, all that fun stuff happens here. You can just copy this folder. You can just paste it into whatever platforms you need to upload it on. And so I'm going to upload this onto Creative Fabrica, Etsy, and Shopify. So I just paste them all in here. And then once you've uploaded, just delete the folder. And then you know, okay, I haven't added any of these. I haven't added any of these, or any of these, or any of these, all to Shopify. But maybe I've uploaded them to Creative Fabrica. And so then you just go down here and you know exactly which ones you need to upload at all times. And because you had all of those files made and copied over into your main folder of designs, you can delete to your heart's content over here because you already have it saved over here. So you don't need to worry about losing files because you've already copied them. So make your design in Illustrator, make the mockups in Illustrator, make the pin images, export all of that, rename them, make the folders, and then boom, boom, boom. You got them all ready to go and upload. So then from there, if I'm like, okay, today I feel like going to Shopify and uploading, I can just come into this folder and say, okay, I need to do this one, this one, this one. So I can just come in here and I have all the images made and everything like that, the zip folder, everything's good to go. And then once I'm done uploading, I just hit delete and then there we go. So I really truly hope I explained this correctly and explained it in a way that makes sense to you. I'm hoping you can follow my thought process here, but basically I just wanted to make it so that I didn't have to rely on going and doing research every time I wanted to upload somewhere. and rely on notes, I could just see visually what needed to be added. I feel like this has helped me a lot and know like what part of the process I'm in. And so like this file organization stuff, I can just go through here and know that I have to go edit all of these into folders before I can go upload them anywhere. But hopefully this kind of helped you think about how you could organize things differently. I hope you found this video helpful and maybe you learned a few things. Maybe you're gonna utilize some of it. Maybe you think I'm crazy. That's okay too. But if you are someone who is struggling to keep things organized, hopefully some part of this video you resonated with and you could take a few tips from. And here's to staying organized in the new year, and we'll just all year round, but like especially as we go into a new year, I just want to stay as organized as possible. So I hope you enjoyed this video and I will see you next week. Bye. I don't know if I made any sense.